Alright, what if I told you that utilizing some simple questions, such as your birthday, the name of your pet, I could easily narrow down and guess your password? And it's probably the same password that you use for everything, like your bank. Wouldn't want me getting into your bank account. So, I'm here to discuss cybersecurity, the world of cyber threats, and how password hygiene is such an important thing that is completely overlooked. Identity theft, fraud, and cybercrime is bigger than it's ever been and is so incredibly lucrative. So it's up to you to keep your cyber hygiene well maintained. I'm a fourth year cybersecurity student here at UC. I've had 3 years of high school cybersecurity experience, so I have 7 years experience in total. We'll start by discussing the world of cybercrime, some of the largest data compromises that have occurred. We'll discuss the effects that cybercrime has on you. Finally, we'll talk about passwords and how such a simple thing can save you a headache. So, some of the largest data breaches in history have occurred in the last few years, and the world of cybercrime is super extensive. Hackers are smart and they find hundreds and thousands of ways to trick you. There's something called open source intelligence and also social engineering. So let's take a look at this picture here. This is a picture of an email that to some may look like a legitimate email, but it's actually a fake email that's used to steal your password by clicking on the link. I know most people have told you not to click links in emails or to email anyone back if it's suspicious, but stuff like this does work. So, thank you to Robert S. Graham and Sean K. Smith in their book Cybercrime and Digital Deviance for this picture. Um, so they also define open source intelligence as a publicly accessible information on the identity and activities of individuals and organizations active on the internet. So that could be, you know, mom and pop business or you, there's information out there like crazy. So like I mentioned in the beginning of the speech, simple questions and public information can be used by hackers in nefarious ways and can even get, stuff like your password, or they could call your bank and trick your bank into changing your routing number or something. It's all sorts of different things that are ridiculous and crazy. According to a report published by Verizon in 2020 titled their Verizon Data Breach Investigation Report, 22% of hacks were social engineering, and social engineering hacks don't take any knowledge of computer programming. They just take a little bit of charisma by the hacker. And some of the largest data breaches in the world have occurred in the last few years. According to a book titled Big Breaches: Cybersecurity Lessons for Everyone by Neil Daswani and Maudi Albiadi, in September 2017, the largest financial identity theft breach of U.S. consumers at its time was announced by Equifax. At the time of the breach, Equifax was one of the top 3 credit reporting agencies in the United States and a custodian of credit information for 820 million customers and 91 million businesses. So, here's some of the data from that breach, courtesy of that book, Big Breaches: Cybersecurity Lessons for Everyone. 99 million people's addresses got leaked. That is such an absurd number that you can't even begin to think about, and just shows how dangerous some of these cyber threats actually are. So, now that we know about the world of cybercrime and how much of an impact it has, we'll discuss what can happen to you if you are involved in a hack or a data breach. So, if you're involved in a cybercrime, you're at risk of having your identity stolen. According to Information Resources Management Association and their book Identity Theft: Breakthroughs in Research and Practice, a most recent report by the Department of Justice indicates staggering losses amounting to $25 billion due to almost 17 million cases of identity theft. That is ridiculous. Not only can they steal your identity, but they can also hold pictures and embarrassing information for ransom and force you to pay them if if you don't want them to release it. And if you don't have the money for that, that could ruin your career. So now that we know all about cybercrime and what, damage that can actually be caused with cybercrime, we'll talk about passwords, one of the most important things when it comes to cyber hygiene. Password changes can be a simple thing that drastically decrease your odds of being involved in a hack. According to Verizon's Data Breach Investigations Report, like we mentioned earlier, 81% of breaches were from brute force or stolen passwords. This is their data right here. You expect it to be a little more even, but it is mostly password attacks, which is not a surprise because it's such an easy route into, compromising someone's data. Hackers utilize dictionary attacks where a computer guesses thousands of common and easily guessable passwords to crack your password. So if you use complex passwords, you most likely won't get cracked by a dictionary attack. In the book Password Cracking with Kali Linux, written by Daniel W. D'Artelle, he uses 3 different passwords. One that's 30 characters, 15 characters, and 8 characters, all with varying complexities. The 15 and the 30 character password were unable to be cracked by the password dictionary attack, while the 8 character one was cracked in 30 seconds. That just shows how important it is to have complex passwords. So, moral of the story, use a complex password, frequently change your password, because if your password is involved in a data breach, if you change it, that breached password isn't useful to a hacker anymore. So with the speech coming to a close, I hope you feel that passwords are more important than you thought before, and also have a general understanding of how dangerous cybercrime is and the damage that it's done to the world. We talked about what it is, how it can affect you, and some information about what you can do to keep your password hygiene up to date. So to end things off, we'll take a look at this list right here, which is a list of passwords that I wrote that I think one of the people in the audience may have. And if one of the people in the audience may not have this password, it's probably really similar to this one. So if that's the case, change your password.